If you've recently upgraded to a new generation printer like those from Bambu Labs or something like a Creality K1, you're no doubt reveling in all of the cool new features and abilities of your 3D printer. One thing you might be wondering, however, is why your prints are coming out with a different, more matte finish than they used to on your old printer, even if you're using the same filament. Well, if you're missing that shine, don't worry, it's easy enough to get it back, and in this video I'll show you how. One of the first things you may have printed on your new machine is the 3D Benchy, showcasing the athletic speed of your new 3D printer, with the X1C being able to pump these out in under 17 minutes, though if you factor in the 7 to 10 minutes of bed leveling and prep time before it actually starts printing, that's probably more like 25 minutes, but even then significantly faster than what would have normally taken more than an hour on a previous generation 3D printer. When you compare one of these 17-minute benchies, however, to one that is printed at a previous generation speed, whilst the quality is still very similar, you'll notice that on the vertical sides, the finish is very different. This 3D Benchy was printed on the Bambu Labs X1C, but roughly at the default print speeds that would have been used by previous generation 3D printers. Whilst it's printed in a particularly thick layer height of 0.24mm, you can see that the hull is still particularly smooth and shiny. Watch how the reflection rolls over the curve as I turn it. This Benchy was also printed on the Bambu Labs X1C with the exact same settings, with the exception of this was printed at the speeds that Bambu Labs is famous for, taking just 17 minutes. Take a look at the hull and the vertical sides and note how much more matte the finish has come out on these surfaces. If you see them side by side, it may look a bit more obvious. So as you've seen here, the print speed is one of the primary things which can affect the surface finish of a print. This is because the faster the print, the lower the precision of material placement right down to a molecular level, and also the more drastic the rate of temperature change for the filament. This is becoming so much more obvious to so many more people because the maximum speed of an average printer has rocketed from around 200 to 250 millimeters a second to 500 and even 600 millimeters a second, more than doubling the potential speed whilst printing. There's an interesting paper which I'll link to in the description below, which finds that this effect can actually be more pronounced at layer heights of 0.06 to 0.1mm layer height, and at 0.2mm layer height it can actually be less significant. These benchies were printed at 0.24mm layer height, so slightly above the optimal layer height for faster printing according to that paper. This means that at 0.1mm layer height, this faster Benchy would have an even more matte, rougher finish. Now there's a suite of speed settings in your slicer, but it's important to note that you don't need to slow all of these down to improve your surface finish. Whilst you might get this problem with a number of new printers and using any slicer, in this video I'm going to be using the X1C and Bambu Studio for the example, but the settings that I refer to in this video can be transferred to any printer and any slicer. Just make sure that the speeds that you're setting them to are appropriate for the filaments that you're using. Let's jump to a Bambu Lab preset for 0.2mm standard and head over to the Speed tab. The settings in this preset are appropriate for the Bambu Lab X1C, and so it's capable of achieving all of these speeds if not faster. However, the only things that you need to change at your end are the specific settings I'm about to adjust. As a result, providing you start with settings that work on your machine and just change the ones that I'm suggesting by reducing them, this will work with any slicer on any printer. Now, as the thing that we're trying to change here is the texture on the surface of your prints, the two primary settings that we want to change here are the outer wall speeds and the top surface speeds. The outer wall speed in this preset is set to 200mm a second. By contrast, the default speed for outer walls in Prusa Slicer, which is referred to as external perimeters in the print settings menu, is 35mm a second. To find the optimum speeds to use here, I designed a simple test print to see what the surface finish would look like at different speed increments. Each of these test prints is printed with the same settings except for the outer wall speed and the top surface speed, which is set to whatever the number is printed on the item. If we take a look at how they came out, we can see that as it slows down from 200mm a second, they get gradually smoother and more shiny. I personally feel that 40mm a second provides the best surface finish for the outer wall speed, as I don't really see much of a difference between 40 and 30, so I'm going to go with 40mm a second for my outer wall speed. For the top surface finish, however, I've found that 30mm a second does provide a noticeable difference in quality, and so I'm going to enter 30mm a second as my top surface speed. It's worth noting that different materials, and even the same material from different vendors, can require different speeds to achieve the same surface finish, so the exact numbers and speeds that I'm showing you here may be different to what you need for your setup. I've uploaded the designs for this test print that I've shown you here, so you can download them and run them on your own printer with your own filament to find the speeds that work for you, and I'll leave a link in the description below. As well as uploading the files themselves, I've included them in both a Prusa Slicer and Bamboo Studio projects, which have them preset to have each one printed at their marked speeds. You can change the generic settings within these projects to meet your printer's requirements if needs be, and the outer wall and top speeds should remain as I've set them, because a object-specific setting is always going to override the generic settings. Just because you need to print slower to achieve the surface finish of your previous machine doesn't mean it's going to take as long. When sliced at the speeds capable of a Prusa Mark III, a shiny Benchy may take 1 hour and 7 minutes to print. But using the advanced acceleration and movement speeds of modern machines, you can print this even with slower printing speeds as little as 35 minutes. So even though this isn't putting pedal to the metal, you're still printing in half the print time and ensuring a good quality print with a nice surface finish. The initial layer isn't usually affected by this issue, as it's by default set significantly slower than the rest of your print, and is also held against your bed, which usually results in a flatter, smoother finish, unless you're printing on a textured bed, so you can leave this as default. The rest of the speed settings aren't going to directly impact the surface finish of your print in terms of being matte or shiny, but they can absolutely have an impact on quality, with the speed of your inner wall, or general perimeters setting in Prusa Slicer, potentially affecting accuracy and imperfections in your outer wall. So, if you're finding that the prints on your new machine are coming out matte and you want them to shine, the main thing to do is to slow down the speed that the exterior of your print is being printed at. Whilst the top surface of your prints is usually less of an issue here, if you really wanted to smooth them out and make them shine, you can also activate ironing, which is something that I'm going to be doing a specific video on very soon. Under some previous videos, some people have mentioned that whilst they like my teaching style, they find that I'm talking too quickly for their preference. Whilst I am trying to adjust my talking rate, if you prefer, much like the prints in this video, you can slow me down by hitting the cog setting symbol at the bottom of this video, going to playback speed and selecting 0.75, and then I will slow down to an easier rate for you to follow. Hopefully that's put the shine back in your prints and helped you continue on your maker journey. If you found this video useful, please do mash the like and subscribe buttons. It makes a huge difference to me and means you're more likely to see more of my videos in the future and learn something new. If you'd like to support me and my channel, you can now become a member and get exclusive access to a bunch of goodies, including the 3D Revolution Discord community. If you'd like to join me and become a 3D revolutionary, just hit the join button either on my channel or below any of my videos and follow the instructions. Either way, and as always, thanks very much guys, and until next time, happy printing. A huge thank you to all my 3D revolutionaries for supporting me and my channel. If you'd like to join them and become a 3D revolutionary yourself, getting access to all of those bonus goodies, you know what to do. Otherwise, why not check out some of my other videos, learn something new, or just have some fun. Either way, thanks very much guys, and until next time, happy printing.